TCT presents Public Report, a look at the issues and events of importance to our viewing area. Now, here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Public Report. I'm Rhonda Webb, your host. My guest on this portion of the program is John Vowell, and he is with Major Chords for Minors. And I really want to give him the opportunity to talk about his role and also the role of his wife, Katrina Vowell. So I'd like to welcome you to Public Report.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to hear everything that Major Chords for Minors is doing in our community. So to start off with, why don't you first just share with our viewers your specific individual roles, both your role and also Katrina's role?
Well, let's see, we are co-founders of Major Chords for Minors. I've never been a co-founder or a founder of anything in my life. And she is the managing director. I'm the executive director because of the titles you have to hold in a nonprofit world. I'm more of a founder though. Katrina does a lot of the backstage work, and she does, without her this program doesn't happen. The grants, the finances at times she's had to get involved in deeply. And she's a very talented lady, and on top of that, she's the musician of the family. So, you know, that's where she is, her expertise in so many things is the reason that Major Chords is what it is today. I'm the front runner. I do all of the speaking engagements in the area, in the state of Michigan, to talk about our program.
Okay.
And so I oversee the day in and day out program itself, and I deal with the good stuff, the ugly stuff, and any discipline that might have to happen, which I hate that word, but you know, with 220 children and 220 families, you deal with a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it keeps us busy, it keeps us motivated, and we're as excited today as we were from the first day we opened the program.
And that's very important.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, why don't you give us an overview of what Major Chords for Minors is and what you do?
What we are a nonprofit 501c3 that opened in 2011 to 8 children. Slowly but surely, and sometimes quickly but surely, we have grown to 220 students enrolled that come to our doors each week.
That is amazing.
With right around 250 kids that are waiting to get in. So it always comes down to the funding, but the interesting part of this whole story of a nonprofit is that we have never, we're not that kind of nonprofit that can sell things out there to make the income to keep the organization running. We have to depend on the individuals, the foundations that will give us money out of their grants, out of their foundations, out of the personal checks that we get every month from all over the country.
Okay.
The country heard about us about 3 years ago on a radio station that went worldwide, and we were on for 5 minutes, and it changed our world. Didn't know that there was only a few other programs like ours out there that's a completely free program where there's no charge for anything. So, so we've grown, and with that, we've grown with the children and their families, and we've seen the miracles happening that music can offer people in a whole. Once you learn how to read music and play music, how it can change your life in school, in you know, neighborhoods. It just makes your outlook look a little different, and it's changed the world in just 6 years, from kids that were struggling in school to kids that are going on to Delta College, SVSU, that weren't going to make it. And the parents all give credit to their lessons at Major Chords and the love that they received at Major Chords.
Okay.
Loves everything, if it, you know, and that goes with Katrina and I. That was our mission to start with, was to give these kids a bunch of love and say that there's decent people in this community that care about you. So with that, we've hired staff. We have 15 that get an income from Major Chords from Minors now.
Okay.
And so we have 4 employees and 11 independent contractors.
Okay.
So with that, you know, we've helped the community with just generating a business. But also with that, they got to realize that money is the number one reason we're here, is because we have been supported by this community and other communities and other individuals from other communities on a regular basis, because they believe in what we're giving these kids.
Right. Well, you know what? I want to talk about a completely different set or market that you're able to tap into. What is your connection with the Saginaw County Juvenile Detention Center?
Well, you know, Judge Meter and I talked about 3 years ago now in regards to what could we pull off. She was sort of new as a judge out there, probate judge at the juvenile center, and we didn't know what we could do, you know, and she didn't know if she could even get us in there, because nothing had been offered to these children in lockup for, you know, as long as the Saginaw Juvenile Center was there.
Okay.
So I know, pulled some strings, and we worked hard to get our end right, to be able to take 2 of our instructors in there every Monday.
Okay.
To give instruction to 4 students. Each of the instructors get 2 students there. And, you know, lockup can be for 2 weeks for some of these kids, 10 days, or maybe 2 years. And so we've had the opportunity to touch lives of children that are in there for really not a whole lot.
Right.
For, you know, mistakes made, for parents not getting them to their hearings. So that just, you know, it's like a revolving door. You just get more offenses put on you as a child, and it's just so unfair. And so Judge and I broke through the county strings, and we have been in there for a year and a half, going on 2 years.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the other ways you've been able to impact the community. Obviously, the impact that you've had through your involvement with the Saginaw County Juvenile Detention Center. And what other ways are you able to impact or even interact with the community?
That's every day, Rhonda. It's every day that I get to interact with the community and the city hall and all over, whether it's churches, whether it's businesses, whether it's whatever. There's people reaching out to us to please come talk to us and tell us what you're doing, you know, because we're hearing all these great things that are going on in Saginaw, Michigan, you know, with this music thing. Now, a lot of people think I thought out of the box, or Katrina and I thought out of the box, and that's not it at all. We just, you know what, wanted to give free music away, you know, and with that came our love. And I really think that that's the number one key to all of it. These children, their parents read our eyes, read our mannerisms, and they're very good at it. And it takes a while for them to understand that, man, Mr. John's here for a hug. You better get your butt over here. And these kids, a lot of them don't even know, you know, what that really feels like, to get a hug from a 59-year-old man. You know what I mean? And so I want to give away what kept me alive all my life, and that's music, and that's love from people that showed their love to me and said they loved me, you know? I think that's really important for any springboard to send anybody out into the real world to try to live.
Well, one thing that I really want, it kind of goes along with some of the things that you're saying and the impact that you've had on the community. How are people, or do you allow people to come in to just visit Major Chords for Minors, just to see what it is that you have been able to provide to our community?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so how
Anyone, we're open from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Monday through Thursdays. That's 4 days a week. And they are welcome anytime during those times to come through and experience the feeling. You got to see, we're at 403 South Jefferson, First Congregational School. It's a wing of a school, or church, I'm sorry, wing of a school that is the most beautiful artwork that we've ever seen. Katrina, matter of fact, cried the first time she saw this 5 years ago, this wing of the school. And we weren't able to do it at that time financially or anything to move our program there.
Okay.
And so that's what takes everybody away. I mean, anybody that wants to do photography, interviews, it's probably one of the best places in the world to come and do all of that. And they get hooked. If you're there an hour, I promise you, you'll be back. Because you can't, whether you're a reporter from a TV5, it doesn't matter. They all want more of it. And so I think it's that feeling that I get when I turn the key to open it and feel the Lord right there opening the door for me every time since we were at our first location. I think other people feel that same thing when they get in there. They feel that warmth that you're okay today, and you can hide here today and just be a kid again today.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, John, we only have a few minutes remaining, but I know that you have some upcoming events that the community would definitely want to learn about. So I can't give you much time, but I do want you to talk about, I understand your involvement with Jazz on Jefferson. So
yep,
can you...
Jazz on Jefferson. It's going to be our first year performing there. We're going to be on the Hoyt Library steps.
Yeah.
They've offered that spot for us, so we're going to be right up there. The children are, along with the instructors, to play there. We have summer events coming up. We play at the farmers market on a regular basis. We have the Indie Music Fest happening in Bay City. That is, I believe, the 2nd of June, possibly, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that's up in Bay City. And that's an area we want to be exposed to also, because as we've opened this program, we have seen that many communities, whether it's Bad Axe, Michigan, whether it doesn't matter, Hemlock, it doesn't matter. There's kids struggling out there. And our goal is to get to them before they find other avenues to take in life that there's no returning from. And it's working. It's in our eyes, it's working.
Well, I really commend you and Katrina for what you have been able to bring to our community. And we know the impact that just love has upon children, and the fact that you're not only providing that environment that's loving and nurturing, but also providing that opportunity for children to learn about music and to take music lessons. So I know that you both will continue to do extraordinary in your roles as leading Major Chords for Minors, and I just thank you for what you're able to bring to our community at large, and continued success to the both of you.
Thanks, Rhonda.
And I know that our viewers will have the opportunity to go to your website and get the information regarding how their children can become involved, even though I know you have a waiting list. But thank you so much for being on the program, and we look forward to hearing much more about Major Chords for Minors.
Thanks for having me, Rhonda.
And I'll be right back with my next guest.
You know what? The relationship with God is the best relationship that you could ever make a decision to have. And one thing that I have found in my personal relationship with God is that when this relationship is not where it needs to be, it's reflected in every other relationship that we have in life. And if you want to have success in life, and I'm talking about success from the inside out, beauty from the inside out, you need to be in a relationship with Christ Jesus, because he will change your life and make it what is glorifying to him. And so I just would challenge you to get to know him. And if you know him already, get to know him on a deeper level and in a greater dimension, because he is awesome, and he would just take you from glory to glory, from faith to faith. He's always doing something brand new. So get to know him. Aisha Woods here, and you are watching TCT, Total Christian Television.
Rachel Farley is here with me today, and she is the program director with Underground Railroad. So Rachel, I'd like to welcome you to Public Report.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
You know, you bring a very important topic to discussion today, and it's very emotional too at the same time, and just vitally important that people understand what you have to offer through Underground Railroad. So can we start out with you just telling us a little bit about what Underground Railroad provides to the community?
Absolutely. So Underground Railroad serves victims or survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking. We cover the whole spectrum. We provide services to people who've experienced trauma and help them start to move forward from there. And we serve members of Saginaw County and others.
Okay. One thing that I thought was really startling is the statistic that says 1 in 3 women may eventually become a victim of domestic abuse.
Absolutely. So I actually have a master's degree in public health, and violence against women is one of those things that really it's a public health matter because so many women are affected by it in our community. So chances are, if you know more than 3 women, they've experienced some form of violence against them in their lifetime or will experience that.
Okay. Well, Rachel, let's talk a little bit about your specific role with Underground Railroad.
All right, so I'm our program director. I oversee all of our direct service programming from our emergency shelter all the way through to our supervised visitation program and everything in between.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
Well, considering that there are so many programs associated with Underground Railroad, can you just maybe talk about a few of those or talk about a few of the services that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people, when you think of Underground Railroad, the first thing that comes to mind is our emergency shelter, and we absolutely have that. We have 46 beds and 19 rooms in our emergency shelter. We also now have a pet shelter so that survivors can bring their pets with them when they are fleeing, which has been a huge bonus for us because that can be a big barrier for women when they're trying to leave a situation. They don't want to leave their pets behind. We have advocacy services available 24/7 where they can call in, get support. We send advocates to the hospital if needed or respond with the police if that's requested with the police.
Okay.
So we also have counseling services available, both intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and children's services, along with co-victim of homicide, which a lot of people don't know. So we do have therapy services for people who've experienced a loved one being a victim of homicide. We also have housing services beyond our shelters. So we have transitional and rapid rehousing services as well as permanent supportive housing. So sometimes when survivors come into shelter, they need more than that, just emergency shelter. They're starting over many times. They're coming with just what they have, what they can carry. And so we have our rapid rehousing program, which is a 6-month program and helps with first month's rent, security deposit, because that can be a big challenge for women. And then transitional housing is a 2-year program that can provide supportive services throughout. And so then we also have court support services that can assist survivors going through the court process.
Okay, you provide almost an innumerable amount of services. Give us an idea of who utilizes the Underground Railroad.
So women, men, we serve both men and women. Children, most of the survivors who come into shelter have children, not all.
Okay.
We serve both single women and families. But oftentimes in shelter we have more children than we have adults. So we all do focus on, we have children's services available, including a specific children's advocate, as well as an on-site licensed daycare to help serve those families. So it's really anyone, and it's there's no stereotype of a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault. It affects everybody across the board, regardless of race, class, wherever you're coming from. It can affect you. So
now there's one thing on your website that, well, actually there are several. One thing that I think is so important that anyone who's accessing your website needs to know is that you have a big button on it that says Escape Now. So can you just talk a little bit about the significance of that button?
Yes, so that button will allow somebody who is browsing our site to immediately be taken to a generic non-domestic violence related site. So if somebody is thinking about leaving, looking for resources, and maybe their partner walks in and they don't want them to see that, they can click on that button and it will take them to something completely generic.
Okay,
Yep,
okay.
so it's a major safety feature.
Yeah, that is. Now, another feature on your website is you actually have a heading that says, some of them say these are the signs of physical abuse, these are the signs of emotional, mental abuse, financial abuse. Why do you think it's necessary that you have that topic and then you have all those bullet points underneath for people to be able to get a visual
Yeah.
of what are the signs of those different types of abuse?
I think it's really important that we have that because domestic violence is so much more than the stereotypical, black eye that we often see portrayed in the media. It encompasses all of those areas: emotional abuse, financial abuse, and in domestic violence, we talk about the toad in hot water analogy. So typically, if you put a toad into boiling water, they're going to jump out because it's hot. If you put a toad into cold water and slowly heat it up, they're going to boil to death because it was slow. And that's kind of how domestic violence works, is it typically doesn't start out with the physical abuse. It starts out with things like controlling behaviors, emotional abuse, maybe name calling. It can be really innocuous. It can sound like, especially in a new relationship, of, I just want to spend all my time with you. I don't want you to spend time with your friends. I want to have, let's just stay in. You don't need to go out with your friends. And that slow isolating from your family and your friends, making you maybe doubt yourself, that things are, you maybe get into an argument and you think that one way and then they completely change it around and make you doubt yourself.
Right.
So it's really can be a slow process, and then it tends to escalate. So it could be they show up at your job, they're keeping tabs on what you're doing, or you do go out with your friends and they're calling you every 10 seconds asking where you're at, when you're going to be home. That type of behavior. And financial abuse is a major piece of domestic violence, because once you, when there's financial abuse, often it's much more difficult to leave. If they're controlling your paycheck or if they've sabotaged your employment, you may not have the resources to get out on your own. And that really could be a step. And then it tends to escalate into a physical issue after that. And there's no like direct link or steps that this is going to happen from here. It's kind of not linear, but those are still some of the things that can happen. It can escalate from there.
Well, I would really recommend anyone viewing the program to take the time to go to the website specifically to see that, because perhaps they're reading everything and being able to maybe identify themselves, if not identify themselves, identify someone else who may be experiencing that. Now, one thing you brought up is you talked about the fact that sometimes because of where a person is financially, they feel like, I just don't have any resources. What can I do? So what does the Underground Railroad do in the event that someone is thinking about the fact that it's going to cost me something to get out of my circumstances?
Yeah, so we really try to provide as many resources to eliminate as many of those barriers as we can for survivors who are looking to leave an abusive relationship or a domestic violence relationship. So they can get connected to our services a variety of ways, through our crisis line, our text line, or just walking in to meet with an advocate. And once you're connected with the services, we do an assessment and kind of sit down and talk with you about what are your needs, what goals do you have. If you haven't left yet, we can do some safety planning with you, making sure that you're safe and that you have a plan if things do escalate. And then we can get you connected to resources in the community, either through us or other service providers that can help meet those needs to help you as you transition.
Okay. Now, Rachel, what would you really say to someone who's maybe even watching the program now, who finds themselves in a situation where the light bulb's gone off and they realize, this is just not the ideal, safe situation that I should be in? What can you say to someone who is just even uncomfortable about the fact of leaving, the idea of leaving?
Absolutely. First, I would say it's real. You're not crazy. We believe you, and you're not alone. Those are really important things for survivors who are maybe in that transition stage, or maybe just that light bulb went off. You're not crazy. we're here. Give us a call, text us, coming out. We can help you. We will meet you where you're at without judgment and in a confidential manner. So all of our services are completely confidential. So please reach out to us.
Okay, and I really hope that that's the case. Seeing that this is a dominating factor in our culture, that it affects 1 in 3 women. I really hope that, you know, if someone finds himself in that kind of situation, that they're calling right now, because I understand that it is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access, either through text, obviously the internet,
Yes.
and also by phone.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Rachel, we only have around a minute to go, but I do want our viewers to know about an event that you have coming up.
Yes, we have our Advocates for Change Luncheon coming up May 10th. It's going to be at the Horizon Center from noon to 1. We're doing it a little differently this year, so you're going to be able to come out and learn about our different services during that event. And there are more details on our Facebook page for that event and all of our upcoming events all the time. So.
Okay, okay. Well, Rachel, I want to give you the opportunity to just share what is really rewarding, or what has been one of the most rewarding aspects of your involvement with Underground Railroad. And I can only give you maybe around 30 seconds, because I'm certain you have lots of stories to share.
I do.
But how does this really reward you?
So I think it does in 2 ways. Number one, I have an amazing staff who work tirelessly to empower women, and then I get to hear those success stories day in and day out, and that's really why I get up and go to work every day, is every single one of those successes, big or small.
Yeah, okay. Well, Rachel, I want to thank you so much for being on Public Report, and I really appreciate the impact that you're able to have in our community by helping women who are victims or survivors of domestic abuse. So thank you so much for being on Public Report.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to our viewers, be sure to join us the next time on Public Report.
This has been Public Report. Public Report discusses the issues of interest and importance to our viewing area. Please remember that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of TCT or the station. If you have questions or comments, write to Public Report, 2865 Troutner Drive, Saginaw, Michigan, 48604.
Are you trying to cover up with makeup? Is the devil trying to blast you about the past you? Is he trying to embarrass you about the things in life that you've been through? Well, the Bible declares in 2 Corinthians 5:17 that if any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. So be encouraged. Your best days are ahead of you. What's to come is better than what's been.